Section 9 of the National Geographic Magazine, Volume 5. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Phil Schempf. An Undiscovered Island Off the Northern Coast of Alaska, Part 1, by Marcus Baker. On a map of the polar regions published in Gotha 11 years ago, land is indicated as existing about 150 miles north-northeastward from Point Barrow, the northernmost point of Alaska. The position of this land is latitude 73½ degrees north and longitude 153½ degree west of Greenwich. I have not succeeded in finding this land indicated on any other map, neither have I found any published statement respecting it. In the summer of 1849, Kellett and Moore, in the Arctic search vessels Herald and Plover, cruised in the Arctic Ocean between Point Barrow and Herald Island, searching for Sir John Franklin. It was during this cruise that Herald Island was discovered and landed upon, and the high peaks of what we now know to be Wrangel Island were seen to the westward. In the map accompanying their report, an appearance of land is shown in latitude 72½ degrees north, longitude 161½ degrees west of Greenwich, being about 130 miles northwest of Point Barrow. On a small map accompanying Osborn's Stray Leaves from an Arctic Journal, land is indicated in the same locality, as also on an undated map published by Longman in London in 1850 or 1851. Russian Hydrographic Chart Number 1495, published in 1854, also shows land here, with the note, "Indications of land according to the report of the English sloop Plover in 1849." These four maps are the only ones out of a considerable number examined by me which show this appearance of land, and they are all obviously derived from the same authority, viz., Kellett and Moore. In Kellett's narrative the only reference to this appearance of land is the following statement at page 14. This was our most northern position, latitude 72 degrees 51 minutes north, longitude 168 degrees west. The ice, as far as it could be seen from the masthead, trended away west-southwest (compass). Commander Moore and the ice master reported a water sky to the north of the pack, and a strong ice blink to the southwest. It appears obvious from this statement that the evidence of land existing here is very slight. The appearance of land is omitted from all the late maps. It does not appear on the British Admiralty charts, nor on the charts of our own Hydrographic Office or Coast Survey. Indeed, on Hydrographic Chart 68, a sounding of 54 fathoms, muddy bottom, is shown in this place. It is clear, I think, that land does not exist here. Now, on the circumpolar map first mentioned, the land shown north-northeast of Point Barrow is about 150 miles northeast of the place where Kellett's appearance of land is shown. I had supposed before examination that these indications referred to the same thing, but having made an examination, I am of the opinion that the indication of land shown on the circumpolar map is not derived from Kellett and Moore, but from some unpublished source of information. That there is an undiscovered or rather unvisited land somewhere north and east of Point Barrow is a matter of common talk among the whalers who annually visit this region. Captain John Keenan of Troy, New York, master of the whaling bark Stamboul of New Bedford, reports that he and all his crew saw it while on a whaling voyage some time during the '70s. The Eskimos have traditions of this land and of a visit to it by their fathers long ago. The known facts respecting this hypothetical, or should we not say real, land are exceedingly meager and all unpublished. It has therefore seemed to me desirable to put these few facts on record, and that no place was more suitable than the journal of a society devoted to the increase and diffusion of geographic knowledge. The facts have all come to me through my old friend, Captain E. P. Herendeen, who, at my request, has written the account to which these remarks are intended merely as an introduction. Captain Herendeen, a native of Woods Hole, Massachusetts, has been for many years engaged in whaling, having entered the Arctic in pursuit of whales as early as 1850, and has since then made more than a score of voyages to this region. I have had the pleasure of making 3 voyages to the North Pacific and Arctic oceans in his company. In 1882-83 he was a member of the United States Signal Service party stationed at Point Barrow. He is well acquainted with all the natives on the Arctic coast, from the East Cape of Asia eastward to the mouth of the Mackenzie River. He speaks their language and is universally known to the natives of that region under the name of Heretic. From the natives and through Captain Keenan of the whaling fleet he has obtained the following information, which he has kindly written out for the National Geographic Society. I beg to suggest the desirability of calling this very little known land Keenan Island. End of section 9. Section 10 of the National Geographic Magazine, Volume 5. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Phil Schempf. An Undiscovered Island off the Northern Coast of Alaska, Part 2, by Captain Edward Perry Herendeen. Among the many traditions of the Point Barrow Eskimo, the following is not without geographic interest. Since no account is kept by them of the lapse of time, it is impossible to fix a date to any story related by them previous to the life of their father or grandfather. Their simple answer to any question regarding the date of these occurrences is always the same: I drar ni, long ago. Our story is this. An Eskimo was out on a whale hunt with his umiak and crew in April or May. Venturing much further than their companions, and being encompassed by ice, they were carried away to the north and east by the moving pack, until at last they came in sight of a strange land. After many hardships and the death of most of the crew, some at last reached the mainland, their own beloved Nuna, greatly exhausted, and related their adventures to wondering listeners. They told of times when starvation grimly threatened, and when the timely catching of a seal or killing of a bear saved them from a dreadful fate, and the skins furnished material to repair their worn garments. These tales, by whomever related, seem to bear testimony to one point, viz., of land somewhere to the north and east of Point Barrow, which has been seen by some of these people under such circumstances of hardship, distress, and loss of life as to have fixed the event in their minds, and been related by father to son for perhaps many generations. It is often told that natives wintering between Harrison and Camden Bays have seen land to the north in the bright, clear days of spring. In the winter of 1886-87, Uzharlu, an enterprising Eskimo of Utqiagvie, was very anxious for me to get some captain to take him the following summer, with his family and canoe and outfit, to the northeast as far as the ship went, and then he would try to find this mysterious land of which he had heard so much. But no one cared to bother with this venturesome Eskimo explorer. So confident was this man of the truth of these reports that he was eager to sail away into the unknown like another Columbus in search of an Eskimo paradise. In the winter of 1887, several of the most intelligent of the Cape Smythe Eskimo came to me about dusk of the evening of February 15th, and reported that 3 strange men had come up from the southwest along the shore ice, and appeared very weary, but on coming opposite the village, which could not have been seen by the travelers before, they quickened their pace, turned abruptly off shore, and disappeared in the ice pack. It was just as the sun was setting, and the strangers could be seen distinctly, but not until they had gotten into the rough ice did it occur to these people standing on the bank that these 3 wanderers were strangers indeed, and the more they talked the matter over, the more wonderful it seemed that any tired hunter should pass their village without stopping for rest and refreshment. It was evident that they turned away in fear when they saw the village and the people standing on the bank. Who could these men be who turned away from their hospitable village, where food and a warm welcome awaited them? They reasoned that every man on the coast, from Point Hope to Point Barrow, was known to all the others, and knew he would be welcome to food and shelter. The more they talked, the stranger it seemed, until the conclusion was reached that these were Inu-tu-muk-tua, lost people, and of course their home must be the mysterious land of their fathers' tradition. As a proof of this, they said these three men wore white clothing, which was most likely made of white bearskins, while the Eskimos of the coast wear brown clothing made of reindeer skins. Another point in favor of their assertion was that these men had no guns, which fact was noted before they turned off shore into the pack. They had spears and a coil of seal line, and used the spears as walking sticks as they plodded wearily along. The circumstance was most strange. Every man in the village of Utkeavie gave an account of himself that evening, and I took the trouble to send to Point Barrow the next morning, but none of them had been in that vicinity or were able to throw any light on the subject. From my knowledge of the Eskimo, I am sure no one acquainted would have passed a village without stopping. It was near night, yet these men in evident alarm turned off shore into the ice pack and were never seen again. I made arrangements to go out in the morning and trace these men and solve the mystery, but the morning dawned with a fierce blizzard, causing the abandonment of the search, and left us wondering whence they came and whither they went. The only report of land having been seen by civilized man in this vicinity was made by Captain John Keenan of Troy, New York, in the '70s. He was at that time in command of the whaling bark Stamboul of New Bedford. Captain Keenan said that after taking several whales the weather became thick, and he stood to the north under easy sail, and was busily engaged in trying out and stowing down the oil taken. When the fog cleared off, land was distinctly seen to the north by him and all the men of his crew, but as he was not on a voyage of discovery, and there were no whales in sight, he was obliged to give the order to keep away to the south in search of them. The success of his voyage depended on keeping among whales. This fact was often discussed among the whalemen on the return of the fleet to San Francisco in the fall. The position of Captain Keenan's ship at the time land was seen has passed from my mind, except that it was between Harrison and Camden Bays. A letter addressed to Captain Keenan by the writer in February, asking for more definite information as to date and position of his ship and other points of interest, failed to reach him and was returned. End of section 10. Section 11 of the National Geographic Magazine, Volume 5. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Phil Schempf. An Undiscovered Island off the Northern Coast of Alaska, Part 3, by General A. W. Greely. Mr. Baker's notes on an undiscovered island off the northern coast of Alaska are extremely interesting. I am, however, unable to agree with Mr. Baker in the belief that land exists in the polar sea between Point Barrow and Melville Island. On my attention being called to the paper and German map of 1882, I did not at first recall that I had before seen charts marked with the signs of land referred to. On later consideration, I remembered maps containing this knowledge, and have since examined all maps of Arctic America from 1844 to 1858 in my private collection, and one or two others accessible elsewhere. It is interesting to note to what extent these signs of land were credited by map makers of that period. For many years, chart number 260 of the Hydrographic Office of the Royal Navy was the standard map of the polar regions. So far as I have learned, there were but two such charts between 1835 and 1886, one being that of 1835, the other bearing the date of December 24, 1855. The chart of 1835 had no such land upon it, nor did the first edition. See Scoresby's Search for Franklin, London, 1852, which bore the note, corrected to 1849, and such land disappeared from the corrected chart of 1855. It appears that corrections were constantly made on this chart of 1849, some even of the most important character, without additional footnotes. This is strikingly illustrated by a copy of the chart published in the Parliamentary Blue Book referred to by Mr Baker, Folio, London, 1852, plate 15. Although the chart has the engraved note corrected to 1849, yet there appear thereon the important discoveries of Admiral Inglefield, made in Smith Sound during the summer of 1852, which were not known in Great Britain until his return in November of that year. It is probable that these discoveries were added to the chart in the final revise, just as the report was going to press. Sir John Barrow, the great authority on Arctic discoveries, in his polar chart of 1846, Voyages to the Arctic Regions, London, 1847, enters no note regarding the new land. The land referred to, so far as I know, first appeared on the polar map in Richardson's Arctic Searching Expedition, a boat voyage through Rupert's Land, Longman, London, 1851, this probably being the Longman undated chart of Mr Baker. Later, in chronological order, it appeared in Osborn's Stray Leaves from an Arctic Journal, London, 1852. Additional papers relative to the Arctic expedition, etc., London, 1852, evidently printed after November 1, 1852, both quoted by Baker. In the Revue Britannique of December, 1853, Paris, was published a map of the polar regions, with the legend, "Lands seen in 72° 30' north, 161° west." To the southwest of this land is a dotted line marking the limits of the polar ice in 1849. This evidently is the line of ice charted by the Plover in 1849. Then follows the Russian hydrographic chart number 1495, 1854, quoted by Baker with the note, "Indications of land, according to the report of the English sloop Plover in 1849." With Mr Baker, I have searched in vain for corroboration of this entry. The Herald was in company with the Plover, and the Parliamentary Report finds confirmation in Seaman's Voyage of the Herald, London, 1853, volume 2, page 106. It was a fine clear night. At midnight the latitude was obtained by the inferior passage of the sun, 72° 10' 30" north. 29 July, 1849. Our soundings had gradually increased to 35 fathoms of soft blue mud. This position was our most northern one, latitude 72° 51' north, longitude 163° west. Commander Moore of the Plover and the ice master reporting a water sky to the north of the pack and a strong ice blink to the southwest. The evident incorrectness of the land charted is shown by the experience of Collinson in 1850, when the general line of the heavy pack ice was somewhat farther northward, extending from southeast to northwest, from 73° north in 160° west to 72° 40' north in 165° west. Collinson, on August 26, 1850, was in 73° 23' north, 164° west, and on August 28th was in 72° 35' north, 161° west, thus having passed directly over the position of the land charted as above. On the 17th he was in 72° 45' north, 159° west. August 22nd, in 72° 25' north, 158° west. August 21st, in 72° 10' north, 153° west. Collinson says, August 17th, 1850. The fog cleared away at 1 p.m., and we found ourselves in a lane of clear water 10 miles wide, with a clear sea to our northeast. Our observations placed us 100 miles northwest by north from Point Barrow, and we found 45 fathoms of water, muddy bottom. 21. Had traced pack from 72° 45' north in 159° west for 275 miles to southeast to 71° 42' north, 154° 30' west. August 28th. Here we reached our farthest point north in 73° 23' north and longitude 164° west. In the afternoon, the pack edge trending more to the southward, we got much encumbered by endeavoring to get through it to the eastward, straining our eyes in that direction in hopes of seeing either land or water. On August 18, 1850, McClure was in 70° 48' north, 138° west, with no sign of land. The weight of opinion in the following few years was decidedly against there being such land, as shown by its omission from the charts of Arctic America in the following named works: Scoresby's Search for Franklin, London, 1851; Hooper's The Tents of the Tuskey, London, 1852; Mangle's Arctic Searching Expedition, 2nd edition, London, 1852, where Peterman's search map is reproduced, there being no map of the 1st edition, London, 1851; Sutherland's Voyage to Baffin's Bay and Barrow Strait, Peterman's map, London, 1852; further correspondence and proceedings connected with the Arctic expedition presented to the Parliament, London, 1852, Peterman's map; Lieutenant S. Gurney, Cresswell's map, dated May 15, 1854; Brand's Sir John Franklin map by Langs, Berlin, 1854; Armstrong's Northwest Passage, London, 1857; Osborn's McClure Discovery of the Northwest Passage, London, 1856; McDougall's Eventful Voyage of H.M.S. Resolute, London, 1857; Brown's Northwest Passage, 2nd edition, London, 1860, which contains a map by Arrowsmith, 1858. It thus appears that the Plover land is a myth, Mr. Baker agreeing with me on this point. The Keenan land lies, however, east of the mythical land already disposed of, being indefinitely located between Harrison and Camden Bay, north of the 72nd parallel. The uncertainty of position of whalers is well known, as no care is given to longitude or other astronomical observations. Since definite data are lacking, the subject can be approached from another standpoint, that of the depths of the adjacent seas. It will be recalled by those familiar with the Arctic Ocean to the north of Bering Strait region that it is a very shallow sea. In one direction only does it deepen, and unfortunately for Keenan island it is in that particular quarter. In my opinion, the great improbability of land in the region mentioned appears from an examination of the soundings of the sea from the northwest to the east of Point Barrow, which are as follows, the position being approximate: 172° west longitude, 73° 5' north latitude, 78 fathoms; 159° west, 72° 6' north, 133 x indicates no bottom; 155° west, 72° north, 145 x; 140° west, 70° 5' north, 190 x; 139° west, 70° 3' north, 145 x; 126° west, 70° 5' north, 110, and 124° west, 74° 5' north, on the very coast of Banks Land, 45 fathoms. The above observations show that the parts of the Arctic Ocean passed over and most nearly adjacent gradually and interruptedly increase in depth from the west, from the south, and southeast toward the reported land, attaining in its neighborhood the greatest known depth of water to the northward of Bering strait. That this condition of depth is not strictly local, but extends uninterruptedly northward, is proved conclusively by the very heavy ice met with by Collinson and McClure between point Barrow and Banks land, which ran upward of 200 feet in thickness. As this thick ice is unquestionably of land origin, from an ice capped country of considerable extent, there must be deep water for its transition. It is possible, but not probable, that the southern edge of this land lies so close to Arctic America. Section 12.